Harvey Fierstein, Fiddler on the Roof. I didn't do it.
Very good.
Seattle and I have a sort of love affair that's been going on for years. Before Hairspray, I used to appear with the Seattle Men's Chorus a lot. I've done, I think, 3 or 4 concerts with them here.
That's right.
At Benaroya Hall, so I played there, and then of course Hairspray in Fifth Avenue Theater was great, and now I'm at the Paramount doing Fiddler, which is a whole other experience. But I've never done the road before, as it were.
How good or bad or rough or tough is the road for you?
It's different. I mean, I went on this journey. What happened was Topol, who did the movie of Fiddler, is like 80 years old, and he wanted to do a farewell tour, though I don't even think he was willing to admit it might be a farewell tour. Anyway, so he went out on the road with the show, and he couldn't act the road, and they called me up and they said, do you want to do it? And I've done Fiddler on the Roof on Broadway for more than a year, and I thought, I've never done the road. I love doing Fiddler. I might as well see what it's like. So it's been a real adventure. We played, San Francisco, Toronto, Austin, Fort Worth, Atlanta. I mean, we're all over the place. So you get a little bit of everything. It's a strange experience because the way I sort of describe it is, imagine you're laying in your bed and you have your eyes closed. It's the morning, you just woke up, and you feel around you, and it's obviously your bed, and there's your lamp next to you, and your telephone, and even your watch, and maybe your glasses, and you feel the wall. It's your wall, and everything sort of feels okay. But then you open your eyes, and the whole bedroom's in another place. That's what it's like, because we travel with the set. We travel with 69 people. We travel with our own orchestra, but you walk out on stage, and it's the same little house that I live in and all that, but then you look out, and it's, who are those people, and what is this theater we're in? It's kind of like, like being Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. The whole house went to Oz, and there you are in this strange place.
I want to talk first and foremost about your voice. You have one of the most distinctive, and every chance I get to interview you, being in radio, I just love voices, and your voice is so, everybody knows you, I think, by your voice. When I mentioned you, said, oh yeah, that's the guy with that great voice. Can you talk about, is that the voice that you had, say, 20 years ago and 30 years ago? Is it?
You know what, that's not really important. The important thing is I'm in show business where whatever you have that's different is what you sell. There are 500 people for every role. There are a million beautiful girls for every role. There's a billion handsome men, and there's 50 billion ugly men. So anything you have that makes you memorable, I think, works for you or against you. But I think having a voice that's immediately recognizable certainly hasn't hurt me very much. And then it's what you do with your voice. You can be the most beautiful girl in the world, but if you can't act, well, that's not really true. In Hollywood, you can still get somewhere, can't you? I've seen a lot of them, but not on stage. In movies, you can fake a performance. You can't fake a performance on stage.
Okay, now let's talk a bit about Fiddler on the Roof. The musical kicks off with this tradition. I mean, it's at the core, the very core of Fiddler on the Roof. And I think it's fascinating. You are in a lot of ways the most a-traditional kind of guy around. I mean, you burst on the scene, at least for the rest of America, with Torch Song Trilogy, and then La Cage aux Folles, and obviously Edna Turnblad with a Hairspray. You come from it seems like I don't know what it'd be, a tradition that's very non-conventional, I guess would be the word, and yet you're playing the most tradition-bound and conventional kind of character. Is there any kind of interesting sort of dynamic that's going on between you and your image and Tevye?
Well, I think in a funny way we are a perfect fit because of that, because Tevye is not just another guy in that town. Tevye is the one who's going to survive. He's not. This is a town. This is a shtetl, which is a Russian village, a Jewish Russian village. These are fundamentalist people, not different than a fundamentalist Amish group or any other or Muslim group. They believe that God has a role for them to live in. The show opens, as you say, with a song called Tradition, in which I say, and every one of us knows who we are and what God expects us to do, and they have a very straightforward, set life of how they're going to live. But Tevye, by the end of the show, is broken out of it, and because the fundamentalist life is essentially death. You don't move on. You don't do anything. But Tevye is, in my mind, the missing link between fundamentalist life and modern life. And he survives, whereas many of those people in the village will not survive. And they will die along the way. We know, because of the original Shalom Aleichem stories, that Tevye did go on and did survive. Some of his daughters didn't. One of them became a prostitute. One committed suicide. There were actually 8 daughters in the original story. So I think the match between Tevye and I is actually a much more natural one than you would think. But I grew up a Brooklyn Jewish-centric kid. This has always been part of my upbringing. Fiddler on the Roof, every bar mitzvah, every wedding I went to, they played Sunrise, Sunset, Matchmaker. If I Were a Rich Man, tradition. I grew up with this music. It's always been part of my life. It is very humbling to know that this has been passed on to me, that now, knock wood, I seem to be the Tevye du jour, after years of Topol and Theo Bacall and Zero Mostel and Jan Pierce and all the great Robert Merrill and all the great men that have played it before me. The 3 gentlemen who are still alive who wrote the show, Joe Stein and Sheldon Harnick and Jerry Bach, have passed this torch to me. I do this with their blessing.
Is that right?
And with not only their permission, but their blessing. When I was playing in New York, they would visit me every week, every 2 weeks, and come and hang out in my dressing room. We would discuss it. I spoke to Joe Stein just the other day, and like I say, to have that torch passed to me, that I'm now their official Tevye, it's a lovely thing, and I don't take it very lightly.
Clearly, you put a lot of thought and energy into, not just...
It's my job.
I guess I'm impressed.
I'm not asking you to come see some piece of junk I put up. I work very hard on this stuff.